good evening from a little coffee and a lot of Yahuah. I did get some feedback from my family, and my 12-year-old son reckons I need to smile more. I find it very hard, not to smile, but to sit and there's nobody else here. I'm talking to a camera. I see my own face. Not necessarily something that makes me smile, but about the topic, about Yahuah, my heart rejoices. I'm looking that way. I've got a stopwatch to show me how long I am, because I went a bit over time last time, only by about 20 minutes, and my idea was to do 20 minutes. So I do apologize if I did keep some of you a bit longer than expected, but when I talk Yahuah, I tend to forget about everything else, because my love for Abba is so immense and my desire to please Him and serve Him, I tend to forget a bit about the world around me. Just a slikkie, a little sip of coffee. Tonight, I want to continue with the idea of getting to know Abba. His love for us is something our human minds and spirits cannot understand. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. And I touched a few things last time. I talked about being under Abba's protection, under the umbrella of protection that He has for us, and that umbrella is Torah, obedience to the Torah of Yahuah. And then, if we understand that, we just got to move a little step on and think of Abba speaks to His children. He speaks to me. He speaks to you. My first language is Afrikaans. Although I've spent more than since 2003 in the UK, so it's 13 years in the UK, I think I'm probably now on par between English and Afrikaans being my first language. But that is not what is important. But when Abba speaks to me, I hear Him in a language that I understand. A German person will understand Him in German. And the other day I was talking to my wife and said I would love to speak Hebrew, but the Hebrew that Yahusha spoke, to hear Him and understand Him. And Abba said to us, He speaks to us in Hebrew. We just hear Him in English, or in the language that we think in. That was a wonderful thought to hear that. And I want to talk a bit about the Hebrew language. And I'm no scholar in the Hebrew language. But what I do know is that there is something very special about the set-apart tongue. I've got a Besorah that I read from, and I've also got a Restoration Scriptures, and the Hallelujah Scriptures also uses Hebrew words in it, and there is a very important reason for that. It's because to help us understand and feel the set-apart tongue. The more we can understand and read in Hebrew, the better we will understand the Hebrew mindset that Yahusha and Yahuah is projecting onto us in his wonderful love for us. And I do know that out there is a movement that say that the New Testament was written in Greek. That is not so. And we will look in a little bit of that. But I'd like to start then with in Exodus 5 verse 2 and 3, Shemoth 5, 2 and 3. This is when Moshe had to go and speak to Pharaoh and tell him that Abba says, "Let my people go." And Pharaoh said, "Who is Yahuah, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know Yahuah, nor am I going to let Israel go." And they said, "The Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us." That is a very, very important point. The Hebrews are Abba's children, not the Greeks, not the Spaniards, not the South Africans, not the Germans. The Hebrews are Abba's people. In Isaiah 36:11 and 13 we read, and please forgive me, these Hebrew names are quite a tongue twister sometimes. "And Eliakim and Shebna and Yahuah, and said to the Rabshakeh, Please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in the language of Yehudah, in the hearing of the people who are on the wall." And the Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in the language of Yehudah, and said, "Hear the words of the great sovereign, the sovereign of Asher." Two instances here where is specifically noted Hebrews, the language of the Hebrew, or Yehudah. In the New Testament, and this is a very strong indication that the language that our Messiah spoke was Hebrew. Acts 26:14. And when we, let me just tell you a little bit what happened, is where Shaul, or Paul, heard the Messiah, our Yahusha, spoke, and he heard his voice from the Shamayim, and then he fell to the ground. And that was the time when Shaul turned around and became a Nazarim, and not an Orthodox Jew anymore, and not to persecute the Nazarim anymore. At this point it says, "And when we had fallen to the ground, I heard a voice speaking to me and saying in the Hebrew language, Shaul, Shaul, why do you persecute me? It is hard for you to kick against the prods." A little bit of coffee. Working away, unfortunately, is not my special cup. So there we have it. Three very clear indicators in Scripture. Two I have from the Old Testament and one in the New Testament. That the language of Abba's people, they are Hebrews, and they are the language being Hebrew. But let's look at some other facts. Yahusha was born from the tribe of the Yahudim. You will read that in Matthew chapter 1, where the lineage is of Yahusha. Yahusha was born in Israel, or in Israel, from a Hebrew mother and a Joseph, of course. So he grew up in Hebrew-speaking home. His disciples were Hebrew. He said he came for the lost tribes of the house of Israel. You can read that in Matthew 15:24. The lost tribes of the house of Israel. Remember, the people were scattered, the tribes were scattered. And they were the lost tribes that were scattered. And he came to bring them back. He did not come for the Greeks, apology. He didn't come for the Greeks or the Romans or the Spaniards. He came for the lost tribes of the house of Israel. Boy, 10 minutes almost gone already. I better move on. He said that salvation was from the Yahudim. Yahudim, the people that bears Abba's name. Yahusha said and this is very, very important in Revelation 2 verse 9, and also chapter 3 verse 9 in Revelation. He says, those who call themselves Yahudim and are not, but are of the congregation of the devil. What is Yahusha talking about? The replacement theology. The church that says that they have come to, they've replaced the Jews. Big mistake. So if we look at these things that I've just mentioned in short, there is no reason whatsoever that a man or a person can think that the New Testament or any part of the Scriptures was first written in Greek. There is no reason for that. Why would Yahusha be born from the tribe of Yehudim, born in the family, grow up in Israel, and then have his speak in the Hebrew language, then die for the Hebrews, the Yahudim, his people, rise from the dead, go up to the Father in the Shamayim, so that his disciples can write it in Greek? Does not make sense. The chosen tribe of Yahuah bears his name. Listen to this. Abba's name is Yahuah. Our Messiah's name is Yahusha, which means Yahuah saves. Yahusha was born from the tribe of Yahudim, which means Yahuah be praised. There is no Greek J-E-S-U-S in there. There is no G-O-D in there. There is no L-O-R-D in there. The name of the Father is Yahuah. His Son that he sent for us, his name was Yahuah saves. And that is Yahusha. And he was born from the tribe of Yahudim. Our Messiah gives us a hint, and I'm going to talk about the name and how we get to the name a little bit later in another teaching. But he says, salvation is from the Yahudim. And I'll leave that hanging for a bit to make you think. My last teaching, I had one sip of my coffee and I forgot all about it, and when it was done, my coffee was cold. In the translation from Hebrew to Greek, errors were made that had a great effect on man. I have mentioned earlier that there is no mistake in Abba's word. In the set apart scriptures, the holy scriptures, there is no mistake. But the translations has got many mistakes. And we need to discern with our heart. If we walk in truth and obedience to Abba, we will know when things are not right, even if that's the only scriptures we have. And that's where we trust Abba. And he will reveal that to us. Moving on. In Hebrew, in the Hebrew text, they use two words for law. For the moral law, they use Torah. And for the ceremonial law or any other law, they use nomasa. Now the word nomasa in Hebrew is nomos in Greek. So what the translators have done, translating the scriptures into the Bible, they used nomos for every law. Moral law and ceremonial law, or general laws, any law for that matter. So, the people who do not keep Torah has lost the value of the word Torah. They cannot. There is no distinction between law and law for them anymore. When the Bible talks about law, it talks about any law, and that's what brings on huge confusion in Christianity. when they talk about, yes, you're putting yourself under the law, but this and that, and legalism, there is no word in the scriptures by the name legalism. It doesn't exist. It's an invention of Christianity. Let's have a look at a very important example. In Hebrews 8 verse 13. Let me look that up. Let me just put my stopwatch there. It seems like I'm going to go a little bit over, but I won't go to 40 minutes. Hebrews 8 verse 13. The last verse of Hebrews 8. I think a good idea would be to read to you the Bible version of it as well. My swords. Hebrews 8:13, and we will read the King James. It says in the King James, in that he saith, a new covenant, him hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxes old is ready to vanish away. And the word covenant in there is added. It's not in the set apart scriptures. In my Besorah it says, by saying renewed, he has made the first old. Now what becomes old and growing aged is near disappearing. Can you see that there is no word covenant in there? As a result of the way the Bible was translated, I just want to try and find my stopwatch. What's going on here? Right. I stopped it for a little bit. But it's going again. So the word covenant is added in the Bible. And now Christianity teaches and believes that the covenant, the Torah, the Ten Commandments have become old and is fading away. And then they use a scripture in Matthew 22 verse 36 to 39 where it talks about what is the most important law, but I will get to that in a bit. What has happened is Yahusha came and he died for our sins. And prior to his death, they used to sacrifice animals. And that is what we call the ceremonial law, where animals were sacrificed for the sin of man. Yahusha came and he died for our sins, once and for all. Which means that we cannot sacrifice animals anymore. So the priesthood of old was fading away because we don't need priests for forgiveness of sins anymore. We do not need to sacrifice an animal for sins anymore. In other words, the ceremonial law is fading away. The priesthood has become old and fading away. We have now one high priest, Yahusha HaMashiach, sent from Abba, Yahuah, from the Shamayim, to come and save us. No more animals, no more ceremonies. That is what has faded away and become old, not the Torah. Moving on, to imply that we have a new covenant is another translation error. It says in Hebrew, it uses a word chadash, which means to repair or to renew. So what has Yahusha come and what has he done? He has given us a renewed covenant. He has repaired what wasn't working. The sacrificing of animals was not sufficient. And He made that right. He's not changed the Torah. He still kept the Sabbath. His disciples, after Yahusha died, still kept the Sabbath. They still called Abba by His name, Yahuah, and Yahusha by his sacred name. They didn't change. They still kept the scriptural feast. They still went to synagogue on Shabbat. They still kept the Shabbat. Nothing has changed. Only the ceremonial law faded away. Matthew 22:36, what I was referring to a little earlier, says, Teacher, which is the great command in the Torah? And Yahusha said to him, You shall love Yahuah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being and with all your mind. This is the first and great command. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. But that's where Christianity, when they argue, stop. Let's read verse 40. On these two hang all the Torah and the prophets. You see, the Ten Commandments is divided into groups. 1 to 4 is about Yahuah. He tells us who He is, that we're not to bring any other mighty ones before Him, to call Him by His sacred name, and to remember the Sabbath. And the last 6 is for man. Meaning, if you love yourself, you wouldn't want people to steal from you. You wouldn't want anybody else to commit adultery with your wife. You wouldn't. That is what Abba expects of us, to treat other people as we treat ourselves. If you want to be saved, you must be there to tell people to be saved and help them to find the truth. Then you love your neighbor like yourself. Yahusha says in Yohanan 14:15, If you love me, you will guard my commands. He says in Matthew 5:17, Matthew 5:17, Do not think I come to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. He made it perfect. For truly I say to you, till heaven and the earth pass away, one jot or one title shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. And jot is not a dot. It is the smallest part of Yahuah's name. That little comma. It's the smallest letter. You can't take it away. If you take it away, you change Yahuah's name. Luke 6:46. This is quite bold and very applicable here. Yahusha saying, Why do you call me Master? Master, and do not do what I say? Yahusha come and He said, Guard my commands. But man does not. Proverbs 28 verse 9. This one also rips at the heart. It says, He who turns away his ear from hearing Torah, even his prayer is an abomination. Can you hear that? Words from Abba, from the Shamahim, saying, if you don't keep my Sabbath, your prayer is an abomination to me. If you do not call me by my set apart name, your prayer is an abomination to me. If you hate your brother, your prayer is an abomination to me. You know, it says in Matthew chapter 24, where Yahusha spoke to his disciples about the end times, he says, it shall be as in the days of Noah, when he returns. And you know, when in Noah's time, they didn't even know what rain was, but by faith, Noah built the ark. And they were the laughing stock of the people. What are they doing? There's no water, there's no river. But that doesn't matter, because we will all be getting through tough times for Yahuah's sake and for His name's sake. And we should be glad about that. Then we know we're on the right track. But what I find sad is that mankind will find comfort in and safety in numbers. There are 2 billion Christians out there. How can that be wrong? Well, I tell you, in the days of Noah, 8 people were saved. And Yahusha says, it shall be as in the days of Noah. Please, if you're a Christian or of another faith and you're listening to this, pray and ask Abba, Father, show me the truth. Show me your truth. Save me. I'm not your Savior. I'm here to connect dots for you. I'm here to... When I came into faith, there was really one person that we could find online that connected dots for us. But our hunger and our desire, the urgency to find Abba and truth was so great, we would never be stopped. And I've reached this time in my walk with Abba. He uses you for the things that you not normally would. I am not a writer. I failed my final years of school's essay writing, and Abba got me to write some books to help people, which I will tell you later about, which is free for whoever wants them. He got me to write tracts to hand to people. I'm not the type of person that like to go to people and give them a piece of paper. I would initially go into churches, sneak in, leave the tracts on a table and sneak out. I was too afraid and scared to talk to people because I was not confident in my faith. Now, I will stand on a Sunday outside the church as the people go in and hand tracts and try and talk to people. And that's how Abba will change us. This YouTube thing, totally new for me too. The first one I found really hard. And I'll still try and smile as best as I can. But let not my smile stop you from finding truth, or the lack of it. But I do hope that the passion and the love from Abba will flow through this channel to reach those who are lost. Amen. Shalom from a little coffee and a whole lot of Yahuah.